Hello, people. It's Websy Wongi again. I'm kind of doing a video about something I've already talked about, but going more in depth about what I'm talking about when it comes to the coronavirus. It's getting really old hearing everything that people talk about. Um, do keep in mind, this may not apply to everyone who feels like it on a different level. I mean, I honestly feel like everyone's freaking out, which is a normal reaction. Let people be people. But I feel like it's gotten to the point with this whole coronavirus that people are living like it's happening to them. There's nothing wrong, in my opinion, to live the way that you want to. The concern I'm having with people on a greater scale is that they're creating more of the fear. They're creating more of this pandemic than what really needs to be addressed. And I feel like, there's so many people that don't understand it on a broader scale. Not all of us have been given the answers truly and accurate because it feels like a time go on. There's so many of us who keep picking up different information, and I don't think all of us really know. Even nurses, because I watched a video yesterday and then today, and it made me realize a few things, that not even the nurses know what's really going on. Like, they can't really follow through. What is the cause of this? What is the starting point? And when is it going to end? First of all, for some of you that don't really know what the Course in Miracle is, it's pretty much a book that a woman was inspired to write, channeling through, she used, channeling Jesus, the messages of Jesus in her book. And it's okay, some of you may not believe in channeling, but I feel like on a broader scale, it opens your mind to that everything we see and hear in reality is not truly true. Because if you go in a different realm, I know that sounds weird to imagine a different realm, different dimension, like the heavenly realms. Everything is well, everything's at peace. And I think a lot of us live on this lower vibration that we feel like everything's happening to us instead of for us, and realizing that, this is an opportunity for our souls to evolve. This is an opportunity for us to grow. And I know there's different perspectives, which is fine. Everyone is in the victim mentality. Everyone's in this state of shock, trauma, fear. And I heard a video or a guy talking today about, he was a Christian, but he made it very clear that a lot of these people don't know where this virus is coming from, or like what's the cause of it. And he made a good point about how fear is more of a pandemic than anything. And the more we feed into the fear, the more we create that as our reality. And I really highly suggest that a lot of us get back to the source of it, get back to the idea, that everything that happens to us, it's not there to hurt us, it's there to evolve us. Regardless of what our circumstances is, it's there to shape us, but it's not to define who we are in the future. And I feel like it's getting back into oneness. It's getting back to the realization that nature itself is trying to tell us something, that we're connected on a so much deeper level than we realize. And I really wish people would read the Course in Miracles. And it's really silly because I came in a video about like the wounds we go through in our lives and such. And that's a little bit what the Course in Miracle talks about. And I pretty much had my video removed off of this Course in Miracle group that I was a part of, and it really pissed me off. But people, people didn't really accept it because it had nothing to do with the Course itself. But to me, it reminded me so much of the Course in Miracles. And a lot of the teachings of the Course in Miracles, I try to live by when it comes to the fact that a lot of us have been programmed to realize when we hear of a pandemic, when we hear of something tragic or murder or violence happening, we act as if it's real. And I feel like for a moment we need to recognize that your nightmares in your life only become a reality if you put the energy into it. And I feel like we put more energy into this coronavirus, the more it feeds the fear. Like, there's nothing wrong with talking about it. But if you're solely in the fear energy, it's going to create havoc in your life. And I heard someone was talking about the new shift of the world, the new shift in the new world. But we're already in the new world. I feel like it's in a transition period where true masks are falling off of people. True identities are showing. And when I speak of that, I'm not speaking that people lied all their time. The truest self is being reflected. People are going to have to go more inside than ever before and realize who they are. We're in a shadow period, I feel like, for months. We've been in this ever since retrograde, and even before then, where it's really bringing up our shadows. And what I mean when I use the phrase shadows, it's bringing up our dark, egocentric self. It's showing us who we really are on a broader scale, that each of us have to go through the struggle. Each of us have to go to the rebirth process. And it's pretty much being refined. It's taking parts of ourselves and bringing them to a surface that we can acknowledge who we truly are from a shadow, egoic centric life form. To know that, we may been carrying so much baggage and program in our mind, and I've come to this realization that we give too much power to those that have hurt us. We've given too much power to the government. We give too much power away. And when are we going to start giving power back to ourselves to realize that we are more than conquerors? We are more than able to overcome any pandemic. And the way we can really do that is unify ourselves, first of all. Connect more with our spiritual aspect of ourselves, whatever that looks like to you. Connect with the oneness, the Trinity, the God within us. And understand that there's no separation. And a lot of people are programmed to think that everything is outside of us, when honestly we need to get back to ourself, our true highest calling, our true soul longing, and to reconnect with the heart space. And what is that? What does that look like, honestly? And only you can really truly decide for yourself what does the soul of yourself is calling you to, and to go towards that. I look a lot of people, it's becoming toxic to even go on Facebook. But there's a need to check up on people, but there's not a need to just stay there all day. You got to do more in your life than check up on people. But like I said, and I'll keep saying it, a lot of this virus is really a myth. And what I mean by a myth is it's all created in our head. Maybe somehow we all created this pandemic. Maybe it's not the external of the virus that is getting people sick. Maybe we're just sick internally, mentally, physically. And we need to reconnect with ourself, our higher self, which is the God consciousness self, that we're all one. We're all in peace with God. We don't have to fear. We don't have to fret. And everything that we see is pretty much an illusion of what really is true and what's really there. And if we project onto other people that what they're doing is causing in some way threat to us, then it all veers back to our ego. It's wounds. It's serious problems mentally that we've been ingrained to think that, if people don't, for say, what's the word? Serve you the way that you want to be served, then they're a threat to you. Or if people don't react the way that you want to, they're doing you an injustice. And then you become the victim and play the victim card like there's something wrong with the other person. And nobody is outside of you at fault. It's your own fault. And in some way you created that reality to think that this person's doing you an injustice, when it really is a 2020 vision thing. It's really about analyzing who are you at the soul level. Who are you deep down inside, to the deepest, darkest corners of your mind? Who are you when no one is looking? Who are you when it seems like you're alone and the invisible part of you is in your face? When the dark aspect of your mind is creating a story that's not even true, but it's true to you because you become a victim. You played this role for so long to believe that this person is doing such and such and such to you, when you've created it yourself in your mind. And then you wonder why people don't want to come close to you. And then you wonder why your relationships are as much of a mess than a tornado or a volcano. It's because you've external every problem outside of the world, instead of focusing on, prioritizing yourself, realizing that you need to get better. You need to heal. Your ego does not want you dead. Your ego is there as a tool. And a lot of people misrepresent the ego as this horrible thing that just wants you out to die. It is there to assist you on what needs to heal. It is there to assist you that, you are not your body. You are not your mind. A lot of these thoughts that come into our mind aren't really ours. And we have to recognize that part of us, that program that we have locked in our center of our mind, need to redial, need to rechange it to match the frequency of the higher consciousness of God. Everyone, those of you who, are Christians, I'm going to say this in all respect, not to hurt you, not to offend you, but a lot of us are on that rocket thing where we feel like this is the end of the world. This is just the beginning, folks. This is not the end of the world. This is not when Christ is coming. And so much it's a Christ consciousness. It's people awakening out of this state of fear. It's people awakening to realize that their neighbor that they hate so much is just as human as they are. We are in the years of Aquarius. We are into this place in space and time where we are understanding ourselves as humans, that we are not separate from others. We are the same entity. We struggle so much with the ego and the pride of life that we do not see ourselves for what we truly are. We always want to externally blame people. We always want to criticize, oh, look at them, what's wrong with them, why aren't they doing this, and deem them to do what we please. We want to control. We want people to live by a certain standard, when the only standard that they need to live is by their code of life, is by what their soul calls them to live. Whether it goes against the grain, whether it goes against your grain. The only way we can truly come together on a level of unifying is coming together with kindness, coming together with compassion. that just because you believe different does not mean you need to separate. Now, I don't believe that people who bring you low and down and discourage you constantly and abuse you, you should be around them. You should interact. You can always love people, but distance yourself a little bit and understand that you love people as a whole, but you don't have to interact with them and their energy and negativity and be drained by their energy like a vampire. So instead of adopting that everything is happening to you, every commotion is going on in the external world, we need to come back to the internal world. What is going on with you? How in some way did you create the havoc in your own life? How in some way did you blame others? First of all, it comes with yourself. You blamed yourself. You didn't take yourself seriously. You didn't realize that you had more power than you realized. You didn't speak up for yourself. One of the things I have tremendously coming to the place of realizing in my life, and I'm just going to be frank and I'm just going to be open and honest, not to tear people down in any way, but just to speak up for myself. You know, in my ex-marriage with my ex, like for some of you know, I am starting to write a book, and it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. I realize that, but the fact of the matter is I'm speaking about things that some people may look at judgment, but I'm starting to speak up for myself. 2 nights ago, and this will go into my story about my ex. 2 nights ago, I could not sleep. I recently had a friend, a past friend, who tried to message me. And it was so confusing to the point that I could not sleep because I'm wondering, well, why are they messaging me? Why do they send this little video clip thinking that, you know, pray for your family and all this stuff? You know, all this past stuff started coming up. But then, through it all, I've come to terms with a past frame program that I was stuck in for a long time. I watched a video, tarot video, and this lady was explaining cancer, because I'm a cancer, and a past life, and it just blew my mind that in the past I was with a man who was abusive emotionally, mentally, of what it seemed at the moment. There was a point in time I did a meditation after the video and stuff that I watched. I saw myself from a place of hopelessness, of pain, of regret, of remorse, a place that I shouldn't have been. And I remember it like yesterday, and this is very hard for me to talk about. I remember I was in the Waffle House, and it was about the same night I came back to my ex because I thought that somehow our relationship could mend together. And it was a prayer that I prayed, and it actually came true. But a few words were mentioned to me about, I can't remember the exact words, so maybe not just mention the words. So anyways, I pictured my old self and how I was crying in the Waffle House. I acknowledged how he was saying all these hurtful things to me. Made me feel stupid, made me feel like I did something wrong to be treated like this. And when I saw myself, I envisioned myself now and realized that I need to save her. And so I went into that past as my present self. I walked in by the table where my ex and I were sitting, and I put my hand down, what seemed in my hand, and I stood up for myself for the first time ever. And so it was kind of like a telepathic connection with my older self. And I grabbed her hand and I pretty much left out. Uh, but before that, I said, I will not be treated or I will not be talked like this. And I finally stood up myself. And I grabbed my old self's hand and we walked out the door and drove my ex's car away. So much I have lived in the idea and programmed to believe that he had control over me in some aspect. You know, what I'm seeing in my relationship was actually a mirror of, it wasn't him. It was the influence of him. Because I used to do that in my relationship now with my fiance. I used to look at my fiancés as making statements like my ex. Projecting everything that my ex did on my fiance as this is reality when it wasn't. It's only my perception. And so when I came to terms with that a few days ago, I came to terms that I gave my power away to someone who didn't deserve it. I was locked in the fear of what was done to me back in about 2014. It was around the fall time. I lived in this dramatic fear for so long that I didn't realize it was still influencing my present moment. And how I could feel so many other people that wants in some way for me to fail, in some way for me to feel the pain that I may have caused them. Other people, I could feel their energy, how they're just waiting for me to fall apart somehow so they can have power. And I've come to terms that these people don't have power over me. Nobody does. And I feel like the more we give into this fear, the more we seek the fear, the more we realize we're all gonna die and the world's gonna come to fire and brimstone, the more we give into that, the less conscious we become aware of ourselves that we, in some way, created this. We, in some way, created the hate in the world, created the pandemic, not a virus, but a pandemic within ourselves that started with ourselves. And to realize and acknowledge the grieving stage that we really need to heal from these past wounds. We really need to acknowledge that everybody is not our predator. Everyone is not out to kill us. Everyone is not to eat us alive with their words and so much. But we have to decide that when we're ready. And I didn't realize how long I wasted in that mentality to think that my ex had power over me and somehow control, when he doesn't. That's just my perception. So if you get anything from this talk, I hope you get to the fact that you, like anyone else, we are in a very crucial time of an opportunity. And I really hope people understand, who listens to this, that you create your reality, good or bad. And if you feel like people are out to get you, that's what you're going to experience. If you feel like there's some type of virus happening, that's what you're going to create. Life is really too short to focus on the negative. Life is too short to focus on the fear, as hard as things may seem. So let's just connect on living the best life we possibly can. Let's connect with ourselves and realize how human we really are in this situation, that nobody deserves to be treated better than anyone, or no one deserves to look better than anyone, because we are it, We're flesh and blood, broken bones, We all need healing. And let's use this time, this pandemic, so-called, The lies that they tell us, that this is something that is infecting us all. The only thing that's really infecting us all is fear. And I think it's a battle, a spiritual battle that we have to overcome when we feel ready. When we're ready, we're going to have to come to terms. You know, do we want to live in the world of fear, toxicity, low vibration, or do we want to live in a new world where we're all connected? Yes, we have different beliefs. Yes, we have different views on things, but we can still work together in peace and harmony. And I think this whole thing about the coronavirus is a myth to me. It's not really there. Yes, do everything you can to take care of yourself. Don't act like an ignorant asshole. But don't let it rule your life where it has control to your every life. Like you can't enjoy life again. I know a lot of things closed. You can't really go to a lot of places. But it's about reinventing yourself. It's about reinventing who you are as a person and becoming that real person that you choose to live and choose to be. And stop programming your mind into the myth of everything that this is real when it's really not. It's just perception. When you can have the best life if you choose, no matter how dark it may seem or no matter how many things come at you, you can still make the best of it. And just pause when you get frustrated. And those times of frustration, take a walk if you need to. Reconnect with nature. Reconnect with yourself, most importantly. Take time to breathe again. You know, everyone's afraid of it, but it's only a matter of perception. So I hope this helps someone, and in some way, just pass it along. Stop living in fear. Let's pass